Patrick Mahomes did nothing wrong. He didn't. He was adorable. He was amazing. Actually, Chris and I want to talk about this, and we've done it before. We don't get to cover him very much. We don't get the Chiefs very much because we do predominantly NFC games on Fox. So when we get the Chiefs, it feels like the Super Bowl, even though it's a regular season game. They are so nice. They're so accommodating. It's cool to see their guys because we don't get to see them. And it almost feels like you geek out a little bit more because we had a shot of him coming in and it's our game. And I'm like, God, he's so cool.
It was the same way when you had Brady because you never had a lot of Patriots games, or you had Peyton Manning. It's like when you have a generational.
We don't get them.
Yeah, right. So Erin,
exactly.
Synopsis.
We get them. And also, I'm going to say this too about Patrick. It was kind of a crazy week for us. Kevin had baseball. Kristen knows this whole story. You know, Tom's doing his thing. And so we weren't going to get Patrick on a call. And the Chiefs were so nice enough to say, hey, you know what? He's got 10 minutes. I'll put him on a call with you. And I was like, with me? And they were like, well, yeah, like for the game. And I just was telling Chris, how much that means to me. Listen, these guys do it all the time, but I don't know. It's still, I think, kind of a pinch me moment when you can get like somebody like him. He's the face of our league on the phone for 10 minutes. It was really freaking cool.
And my whole thing is if you don't think that, then you've gotten a little like comfortable in the whole thing. It doesn't matter. Like, because
too big for your britches.
It should always, and Patrick doesn't make you feel that way because he's so likable and cool and casual, but like you should still get excited to talk to, like I said, when you covered Brady or when, Patrick or covering baseball, when I used to pee myself if I had to interview Derek Jeter. It was like, there's this certain Mount Rushmore of players where you're like, it's cool and you should be excited. But it says a lot about who he is and the Chiefs doing that because.
So cool.
Yeah. So Erin,
in full disclosure, people ask all the time, do you get nervous at all with your job? I do. I get nervous every single first hit I have. I feel like I've never done it before. We've talked about here on the show where I've almost like blanked out a few times. And even my call with Patrick, that's not on camera. It's totally on the phone. I've got my notes in front of me and I'm recording it so I can go back and transcribe. I had to be in my room 45 minutes before to just go over and practice and like catch up. It's just different when you get different guys. And I think it's cool to feel that way or whatever. So Chris and I in the pregame show, we're talking a little bit about my postgame interview. And because I'm such a huge sports fan and I'm so excited and because we don't get to see them a lot, I was excited when he walked over and I was like, hey, so good to see you. Because I hadn't seen him in the pregame of that game. And I just started thinking to myself, my God, I have so much makeup on right now. I look tired.
You're so
I haven't really slept. God, I put a lot of perfume on. Is he thinking about this? And I played this whole thing in my head and it was so stupid.
No, but that's what we do. I mean, I made the comment that there's so much lighting on the Thursday night football set, which makes me so happy that like I won't go down onto the field to say hi to guys because I'm like, I look great up here. So I'm going to stay up here and it won't go down there because there's not filler light. Because when you're in that stadium, the overhead lighting, that was my thing too. I preferred back in my day of being a sideline reporter. I loved an outdoor stadium, even if there was weather or all that kind of stuff, because I always felt like dome lighting. Now keep in mind, this was me having to work like every game at Ford Field. Now I wish I worked every game at Ford Field, given how great they are. But I just remember every game I was like, oh God, the lighting in here is so bad. Like I look terrible.
New Orleans lighting's a little tough. Nothing against their stadium. I'm not calling their stadium out. It's just a little tough.
It's tough. We're talking about from a superficial, like you need that filler light situation. But anyways, week 7, another one for the Bucs.
Can you believe we're on week 8 now?
It's going by
nuts.
so fast.
So fast.
So fast. You had a great game. I know, obviously, you just mentioned that we don't get the Chiefs very often on Fox, but you had a Super Bowl rematch, which was the first time ever Fox has had a Super Bowl rematch from from a Super Bowl that was theirs, like for that matchup. So that matchup was back in 2020. So takeaways. Obviously, the Niners still working through a bunch of injuries. Brandon Ayuk, what's the latest on him? Do we know?
Right. What do we know? Is it they're saying ACL, but have they confirmed it? I think that was the fear in Kyle's presser.
That.
Oh, awful.
Yeah, awful.
Awful. So yeah, a lot of stuff they're trying to work with. work through with injuries. And then on the other side of things, we talked about coming into the game. It's not the same Chiefs team. They lost 2 wide receivers going in. They're working in new pieces. They lose Juju in the middle of the game. But the one thing I felt like Tom Brady kept saying in our game is they continue to go forward. This is one thing. Geek out time. Geek out time. Football geek out time.
We should have like a little sound that happens when that
geek out.
Well, maybe, or not. We'll workshop that.
Okay. Cool. In our production meeting the night before, Brady kind of gives his thoughts, which is pretty cool to hear him do about Patrick Mahomes. And now that he's won 3 Super Bowls, where are you in your life? Anyways, he was talking about this matchup and he was just saying, this matchup, like the Super Bowl matchup, it comes down to one play. That's exactly what Patrick had said to me in our call. He just said, extreme focus is one of the biggest keys for me because with a matchup like this and a team like this, it always comes down to one play that will decide the game, and you never know when it is. So we all talked about it in the production meeting, and then that was my first hit in the open. Excuse my French. That motherfucking 33-yard run that he had where he faked the guy out, stopped, did his thing. That's the play. That's the fucking play that gets him down there. Then it's, obviously then third down happens, 4th and 1.
It's him.
Just runs it and bops a defender. Like that was the play. And I love it so much because we're so tight in our crew. And like a couple guys got in my ear that are in the truck and go, EA. And I was like, what? And they go, that's the play. Like, that's the motherfucking play. That's the play.
And I love that he said in his post game with you, he was like, oh, that was my longest run. Only 33. Where you're like, bro.
Like, what a fucking run.
Exactly.